Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Chris, and in today's episode, we're gonna find out just how much faster Rockshox Flight Attendant system is versus no lockout at all. Now, Rockshox claims that their flight attendant system is 1.8% faster than a traditional manual lockout, which equates to about 96 seconds over a 90-minute race. This is not insignificant, but really kind of a small number. But how much faster is their most truly optimized lockout system versus no lockout at all? Let's find out. I've been putting it to the test, and I think the answer might surprise you.
Wow, that's shocking. Did I just waste $2,000? I need a minute to go spin and think on this a minute.
Now, to test this out, I'll be doing several laps of a course that I have carefully selected. It's about 1.5 miles long and 169 feet of elevation gain, and it encompasses a wide variety of terrain. I will be testing in an alternating order to reduce the amount of variability as much as possible. I'll share my impressions out on the trail as I'm riding, and afterwards I'll review all the data and report back to you. The bike that I'll be using for this test is my 2021 Specialized Epic Evo. It is the perfect choice for this test as it is an XC bike with a relatively firm pedaling platform, but it does feel noticeably racier when the suspension is locked out. I have the bike equipped with a Garmin speed sensor on the front wheel and also a Quark power meter to gather data and be able to truly analyze the test results. In addition to the speed sensor and power meter on the bike, I will also be wearing a heart rate monitor and recording the ride with GPS. I'll be using my watch's lap function to record each lap rather than rely on the Strava segment because I think this will be more accurate and more consistent.
This spot right here will be the start point for each of the laps. I'm gonna stop the bike right here on the gravel, take off, start the lap. I've turned auto pause off on my watch. We'll start a lap here and get going. This is lap number 1 with flight attendant system. Now, as I'm climbing, I'll be doing my best to gauge my effort and try to keep it steady throughout all these different laps. But I will be referencing heart rate, power, and just overall perception of how hard the lap feels. I have a pretty good idea as to what pace I can hold repeatedly, so we'll be primarily just going off feel. As I'm pedaling up this gravel climb here, the suspension is fully locked out. I can stand up and pedal without any pedal bob at all. That's the short gravel climb. Now we're turning into the woods. Roll here, cross the stream, and then starts the single track climb. Climb is pretty rooty. As you can see here, there's some short punchier sections, some more technical sections. So it'll be a really good test for flight attendant and its different modes. Open, pedal, and lock. It's cycling between those 3 constantly. So easy just to stand up, make it up those punchier sections when the system's locked out. So the system was fully locked out, and right as I hit that root coming into that corner, it fully opened itself to give me the most grip around that corner. Now it's back locked up again. Smooth section of single track here, it's fully locked out, front and rear. A little bit more of a technical section here. Bike has gone into pedal mode. Give me the best combination of pedal efficiency and grip. Still in pedal mode, down that little downhill because I was applying some pressure on the pedals. And now it's open. And now it's back into pedal mode. Actually split state, which means the fork is open and the rear shock is in pedal mode, which feels great through this rough section. All right, that's the top of the major climb. It descends for a little bit and kind of rolls up and down for a major descent. Let's rip it. System's fully open now, giving me all the traction. Even with this loose leaves, gives me a good amount of grip. Just like that, system locks itself back out again for that short little rise. It stays in pedal mode through here. Still in pedal mode. Looks like that's where it wants to stay right now. All right, back to open. As soon as I let off the pedals, it switched modes. Back on the pedals, goes to pedal mode, back to open. Still in open because I haven't pedaled yet. Now, back to pedal mode. Actually still in open. There it goes. Now it's a split state. Really fast section of trail here after this corner. Bike is fully open. Crossing the stream. Couple pedals. Bike is still in open mode through all of this. It has not changed positions. Only giving a couple pedal strokes here and there. There it goes. It just changed positions there. So gave a couple more. And it's back to open basically immediately after hitting that route. All right, through here. As soon as I hit the guardrail, I'm going to stop my watch. Right past here. All right. Lap number 1. 7:31. Pedal around for a brief minute or two before we take these batteries out and try it again without Flight Attendant. I have a feeling it's going to feel pretty different. All right, time to unplug the Flight Attendant. Super easy. Take battery out. Take this battery out. I'm gonna throw those in my pack here so the weight is staying exactly the same. And I'm just gonna put these covers in just to protect the suspension components. All right, back here at the start line. This time, batteries have been unplugged. We're going analog. Lap time. Oh, immediately it feels so much squishier. Just that little acceleration there induced a lot of pedal bob. Yeah, going up this gravel climb, I can definitely feel the suspension bobbing, losing some efficiency. Almost feels like I'm pedaling in sand a little bit, but we'll see how much of a difference that feeling actually comes out to in real life. So in order to stand up here like I did before, the suspension's just bobbing like crazy. So it almost doesn't make it worth it. All right, onto the single track. Yeah, that section right there, standing up the pedal, doesn't have the same zip as when the suspension's locked out. Without a lockout, the bike really encourages you to sit and spin a lot more. Now, this bike does pedal well without a lockout. It is meant to be an XC bike, but it doesn't have the same zippy feeling as it does with Flight Attendant, especially when you stand up, really give it the beans. Yeah, I just feel like I'm carrying less speed overall, but we'll see. Maybe it just feels smoother. Oh yeah. Ah, come on, bike. Noticeably less zip up that rise there, following that hard left-hand corner. Yeah, even on this section here, where I'm pedaling, it's kind of downhill-ish. I prefer the Flight Attendant in pedal mode still. Let's get it, bike, let's get it. Hooking down this hill, let's go. Over the log. All right, almost to the guardrail. Come on, couple more pedals. Oh, 725. That was faster. Maybe I was pedaling a bit harder. That's crazy. I would have never guessed that. Wow. That's shocking. Did I just waste $2,000? I need a minute to go spin and think on this a minute. Well, we are about 30 minutes in, taking my first snack break here to fuel up. I was kind of blown away by the fact that this bike was faster without flight attendant on the second lap, but I'm really curious to see how much different my power was. So I'm going to dive into that once we get back to the studio. But just out on the trail, it felt so much slower, but maybe it's not. Back at the start line, lap number 3 and lap number 2 with flight attendant now operational. Let's see if that was just a fluke. Maybe I got warmed up on that second lap, what the deal was, but we're off. I just find it impossible to believe that it's not faster with flight attendant. It's got to be a fluke that first time around. But we got plenty more laps in store. We'll fully suss this out. And again, I'm trying to hold a consistent pace across all these laps, but I am human, so can only do so much. Now I'm trying to pick the same lines every time up that climb and every time on this downhill to be consistent. All right, this time it feels like a pretty similar level of effort to that second lap without flight attendant. Hello. Thank you. All right. 7:19 that time. And you could probably take off about 4 seconds, 5 seconds there at the end after running into those hikers. So we'll call it 7:15. That's 15 seconds faster than the second lap I just did without flight attendant. So maybe it is faster. I'm so confused.
All right, now let's get to the final results. I first want to point out that heart rate is the most accurate way to measure exertion versus power for this test, because the suspension losses are not taken into account with a power meter. The power meter just simply knows how hard it is being torqued and the speed at which it is rotating. It doesn't take into account the losses through suspension. So you push on the pedals, suspension squishes, and then your power meter reads how much pedal power you're actually putting out. All right, so the first figure here on the screen is the flight attendant versus no flight attendant lap data. As you'll see, the average speed of flight attendant was about 10 seconds faster than with no lockout at all. This equated to about a 0.2 mile per hour difference over the course of the lap. I averaged about 8 watts more power with flight attendant than without. And the heart rate was relatively the same, although 1 BPM higher with flight attendant than without. All right, so what you're seeing on the screen right now are the individual lap times and all of the raw data from the testing that I did. You can, feel free to pause the video here and look at it in more depth, but I don't want to just go through every single detail here. I do want to point out the statistical analysis that I did here in the big box on the bottom right. I created a 95% confidence interval for the average lap time. So this was roughly 8.1 seconds. And the difference between flight attendant and the non-flight attendant was 10 seconds. So this is outside of that 95% confidence interval of the average lap time. So therefore, we can say that flight attendant is faster than no flight attendant with this data that we're reviewing right here. But I want to point out that lap number 4 was 13 seconds slower on the climbs versus the others. Now, I don't believe that this is because of the flight attendant system being turned off, because it doesn't match the other tests that I did with flight attendant off. I believe I just didn't recover enough during this test. My power numbers were way down. So we're going to remove this and reanalyze the data. So on the screen right now, you will see the test data with the outlier removed, that lap number 4 I had just mentioned. So now the analysis shows that the 95% confidence interval for an average lap time is 5.5 seconds. And the difference between flight attendant and no flight attendant or lockout at all is 5 seconds. So therefore, we're 95% confident that flight attendant is actually not faster than no lockout. I was blown away and totally shocked by this data. I've been racking my brain as to figuring out, like, did I do something wrong with the testing? I've been, analyzing it several different ways. Now, the two runs that I want to compare closely here are lap number 5 and 6. When I was riding them, I was like, wow, those efforts felt exactly the same, felt really consistent on the descents, and I just think those would be probably the two closest run comparisons that I could give. Lap number 5 with flight attendant was about 7 seconds faster than lap number 6 without flight attendant. The heart rate with flight attendant was about 2 BPM higher, suggesting that maybe I worked a little bit harder on lap number 5 versus lap number 6, but 2 BPM is really close. And if you look at the heart rate for the single track climb, it's within 1 BPM, a small difference in heart rate that I think can be chalked up just to standard deviation there. Now, what's really wild to me is that the full climb and single track climb were within a few seconds of each other with flight attendant on and with flight attendant off. But the power was roughly 8 to 9 watts more with flight attendant than without flight attendant. Now, you might be thinking, why is there more power output, but the climb speed is basically the same? I was wondering the same thing. Now, ultimately, I think that the loss in pedal efficiency is seen at the cranks, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a loss in efficiency on the trail. In the open suspension setting, the bike travels across the terrain very smoothly, effortlessly absorbing roots and rocks and small undulations in the terrain. And with the flight attendant system locked, you feel a lot more of those vibrations and impacts come through the bike itself. Now, the bike feels way faster with flight attendant than without it, and my fastest lap times were all with flight attendant system, but roughly 5 seconds faster over a 7-minute course. Not a huge difference in my opinion. So what do you think? Is the speed worth the price and complexity of a lockout? It seems to be slightly faster, but is that justified? Is it worth running the extra cables through your bike for a manual lockout, or even purchasing and spending the extra money on a system like flight attendant? Let me know down in the comments below your thoughts. For me personally, I already own flight attendant system. It seems to be a little bit faster and it feels faster, so I'm going to continue running it. If I had known all this information prior to purchasing flight attendant, I probably would have just bought a traditional non-lockout suspension and saved some money and complexity on my bike. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say as well. Do you have experience with and without lockout? Is it faster feeling for you? Is it actually faster? Have you timed it? Let me know down in the comments. Let's have a discussion down there. Really interested to hear what everyone has to say. If you're interested in more deep dives like this, hit that subscribe button, or if you at least enjoyed this video, hit like. Really appreciate it. And if you're an XC rider, check out my recent review of the Maxxis Aspen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.